Calling all instructional coaches. Join Forward Edge for Coaches Camp in summer 2023. Coaches Camp is packed with high-quality professional development exclusively for you. Attendees will work with like-minded coaches on creating strategies for building teacher relationships, executing coaching cycles, and building a culture of coaching and tech integration within their district. There are 2 opportunities to attend Coaches Camp in the summer of 2023. You can join us virtually June 12th through 14th, or come visit us in Cincinnati on July 27th and 28th. Please visit forward-edge.net/coachcamp to reserve your spot today.
Aloha, I'm Katie Ritter.
And I'm Justin Thomas, and this is the Restart Recharge podcast, a podcast by coaches for coaches. We bring the tips and tricks to help you in your everyday work as an instructional coach or whatever they call you in your school district.
So hopefully you're going to leave this episode with us today feeling just a little bit less on your own coaching island.
And it's an exciting episode today because all of us got to go to San Antonio, albeit a little colder than what Texas normally is. But I mean, they had a winter storm warning, but that's okay. Schools were closed, but we had a great time anyways down in San Antonio for TCEA. So a conference in the Lone Star State that educators from all across the state and really the country come down and present sessions and attend sessions, everything like that. So we were down there, and we thought it'd be a good idea to give a little bit of a recap in terms of what we all saw, heard, we're doing down there. So we have a very exciting episode that's going to recap that. So if you couldn't make it down there, then we have some sessions and things like that we'll talk about. But even if you didn't even know it was on a list of yours or anything like that, you'll still get a little bit of a recap too. So we have 2 folks here, and the first one is Megan Rubel. So Megan Rubel is an instructional design coach at Forward Edge. Before entering her coaching role, Megan taught 5th grade in Alexandria, Virginia. Now Megan works in a pre-K through 12 district outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, where she works with teachers to support over 3,500 students. Gotta get my math right there. One of Megan's passions in education is differentiation, ensuring students receive an educational experience that meets their needs and extends their abilities. In her free time, Megan enjoys reading, traveling, and trying new restaurants. So welcome in, Megan.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, welcome back, Megan. We're glad to have you with us. I have the pleasure of introducing Tyler Irwin, who is our Assistant Director of our Curriculum and Integration Department here at Forward Edge and my personal savior. He has 6 years of classroom experience, including 4 years teaching 7th grade language arts. And currently he serves as a Google certified trainer and certified coach, and is also a mentor coach with us here at Forward Edge. He's entering his 6th year. I cannot believe that every time I give your year countdown, Tyler, when we introduce you on the pod, as an instructional coach with us here. And he supports partner districts by delivering training, conducting formal coaching, offering consultation, and supports all of our coaches on a regular basis here at Forward Edge. So Tyler, we're very happy to have you back with us.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I always enjoy my time on the pod, so looking forward to sharing some TCEA highlights today for sure.
Awesome.
Well, awesome. So obviously we were all at TCA. That means there was a lot of presentations that we were able to attend and a lot of new ideas that have come through that. So let's just kick right off to it, and let's figure out what were some really cool sessions that you attended that you would like the other folks that listen into the podcast to kind of get an idea about.
Well, I know before the pod, Justin, I told you that I had 7, which seems like a lot. So we're not going to go into all 7. But I am going to highlight 3, and I tried this time to specifically go to things that were like a little bit outside of my comfort zone, or just maybe were things that normally I would see on a session agenda and I would just kind of brush aside. One that I really loved, and I think that even if you're an instructional coach, it has value, it was best practices in the Google admin console. So that was really nice because at the district I serve, I do have access to the admin console, which is great. Not every coach does, but I was able to kind of look through those best practices and see, you know, hey, what are we doing in comparison to another district? What can we change to do things better? But even if you don't have that access, it just gave you like a really good view about how all of these things work together. And how you can support your IT department or your technology coordinator to make things easier on their end when they are trying to create these organizational structures and allow apps and keep everything safe. And so that was great. And the 2 presenters came from a district where they have 70,000 devices.
Woo.
So yeah, they had definitely kind of lived and breathed Google Admin Console. A lot of trial by fire, by experience, by sometimes mistakes. And so that was great. Another one I really enjoyed. It's kind of more of a comical
Sorry,
session.
before you go on to the next one, do you remember the presenters' names or the district they came from so we can give them a shout out?
Shout outs.
I don't remember. I know the one person's name was Eric. His last name I would probably butcher if I tried to pronounce it. And then the lady that was with him, I honestly don't remember, but we can maybe give him a shout out later. It was an excellent session. I really enjoyed it.
We'll look it up and then we'll link them in the pod notes.
Yeah, that would be nice. Oh, it's Eric and Misha. So Eric Buenrostro and Misha Daniel. So there you go. So and Eric, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. You said it so eloquently at the presentation. But another one that I really enjoyed it was kind of more of a comical session. It was Don't Become a Cybersecurity Meme. And so this was a session from an instructional coach and a teacher who actually were working in an active district that was taken over by a ransomware attack. And so the session was kind of like a recap of what happened, but it was almost like a learning experience for everyone in attendance. Hey, here's what you might do in the future to protect your school or district from a similar attack. Here's how you can prepare your staff by maybe monthly updates or test emails or all the little things that we can do as instructional coaches to like support that and make sure that, all it takes is one person clicking a phishing email or a password being shared. And so she had like a really good presentation style that I think just like lended itself to being funny in light of something that's also very serious.
Yeah.
And that schools and districts, of course, are facing more and more every day. So I just appreciated kind of her like honest take and how she as an instructional coach approaches cybersecurity now as a part of the training and teaching that she does with teachers on a day in and day out basis.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of fortunate in that the, Forward Edge where we work, we have a cybersecurity division. So I feel like we've been educated at sometimes against our will about cybersecurity. But we have sort of realized kind of the very real reality and the gravity of the situation about educating users. But maybe for those folks, because I think in my experience observing and just talking with schools, I don't know, while schools are like such a huge target for cybersecurity threats, I don't know that that is actually trickling down to people in the school systems, right, who are the most important part in, or a huge part in protecting. So what were maybe like some of their main tips that you could give our coaches listening that came from their session that they could take back to their districts and start having some conversations around with admin?
The main tips really came down to the fact that, like many things, we receive training, especially in schools, on cybersecurity once or twice, typically at the beginning of the school year, and there's never any follow-through. I think that is the case in a lot of districts, and that's not maybe for the lack of good intentions. It's just, funding or, other things take up these in-service days that are more linked to curriculum and instruction. And so her biggest tip was, make that a prominent part of everything you do as a coach. If you have a newsletter, have a cybersecurity section. If you do coaching cycles with teachers, she was mentioning do like a cybersecurity checkup with them when you have one of your first meetings with them. She also mentioned putting out things like flyers and funny memes and different things that can bring awareness to all the threats that are out there that, yes, are funny and they're eye-catching, but at the same time, serve a purpose and educate the staff. And I just thought that was really good best practice, because it is easy for all of us to forget, to glance at an email, to click, to move on, and before we know it, that could have been a threat.
Yeah, I think those are great tips, because I think for an initial kind of, because until I sat through the training myself, I didn't realize how important people were in the cybersecurity process. I kind of just thought that's the tech department's responsibility to put up the blocks and the filters and catch everything. Not realizing that there's so much more to it than that. So I feel like after that initial session and you kind of understand that, these cyber tips would be super easy, like they said, to put in a newsletter, right? Make it a PD on the potty every now and then for quick tips at staff meetings, even some quick tips, just again, to their point, what you're sharing, Tyler, just keeps it in the forefront of your mind and reminds you to be thinking about it regularly and stay diligent.
Yeah. No, it was a great session. It was really funny, like I said. So just an interesting perspective on something that no school or district ever wants to go through. But I think left me with a lot of food for thought on how like I serve my district and support them in their efforts to stay safe as well. So really enjoyed that.
And those presenters were?
So I'm looking through her presentation now, and she actually has like a QR code to her contact info. But she comes from Mansfield ISD in Texas.
Okay.
So we can maybe give her a shout out later on, but I don't have her name specifically here, but we can definitely look that info up and go from there. And then I know I've been talking a lot, but one more.
You'll get your turn in a moment, Megan.
Sorry, Megan. I told you there were 7, and I'm only mentioning 3. Like, I'm holding back here. One that I really loved, it was actually late afternoon. Maybe 10 or 15 people attended. And I am so glad that I stuck around. It was about universal accessibility. And so she featured a lot of things, some that I knew, but a lot that I didn't. Ways in which we can better design like our lessons, our learning materials, any websites we have, even from like a district perspective down. Ways in which we can make languages more accessible and text more accessible and images and all these different things just we don't necessarily give thought to as a teacher when we're creating learning materials. But she made it so simple and brought out ways in which in both Microsoft and Google tools there are so many accessibility features built in that we can take advantage of to support all of our learners.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed that. Well, I mean, admittedly, I'm obviously I'm a stand for Google, but at the end of the day, like there was a lot of stuff about Microsoft that was incredible. So she mentioned PowerPoint Live, and that allows you to do a slideshow. People can join, and when they join, obviously as you advance through the slides, it's similar to like Pear Deck where it advances on everyone else's screens.
Okay.
But on each of their screens, they can decide which language it's translated into in real time. So like you could have a parent presentation night, for example, with all sorts of different language speakers. They get to decide how that's captioned in real time in a different language. And I just thought like how amazing that was to support all of our learners, all of our parents. And I know that Google obviously has some features that are similar to that, but to put the control in the end user's hands where they get to decide how this works, I thought that was just amazing. And it worked seamlessly. So that was one thing. And then she gave a lot of attention to even how we choose colors and fonts and how we use white space and just all the things that can make a text or a learning material easy to take in for students. And some of the things that we would never even think about as a teacher and we might even view as a little tedious, but just some simple changes or tweaks to our materials can make it so much easier for kids to learn from and enjoy and not have to stress about, I can't see this because I'm colorblind, or I can't read this because I'm dyslexic, or whatever it might be. And so I just thought that it was a nice kind of like gentle way to shift all of us and shift our thinking in a way that supports all learners.
Yeah. I like that. I'm like almost picturing, was she, what was her role, the presenter? And
she was an instructional coach. I do have her name, yes. So this one I can give you. Let me go ahead and get to her contact information. So her name was Ashley Ivy. She was from Garland ISD, former middle school teacher, and now she works as like a digital learning coach in her district. So just a lot of great tips. That was just a few of many. But her presentation was excellent. I'm glad I stuck around.
Yeah, some of those things that you're saying, Anna Marie Reinhardt on our team, it sticks out to me because she was a special ed teacher, and I feel like she's always thinking about some of those things.
Yeah.
When she's like designing and presenting, and even like the Edu Badge program, when she creates a video, she doesn't say click the blue button. Like she'll very specifically like describe what it says and where it's located, and maybe give the color. But she's kind of taught me to think about some of those things. So I'm almost kind of picturing like what a really cool, maybe like the coach could facilitate a coaching cycle partnership between like a core content teacher and a special education teacher, maybe where they could like collaborate to address some of those things. So super cool. We'll link to Ashley's contact info in the show notes as well. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah. Megan, I'm done, I promise.
Yeah. So this was my first like big conference that I was able to attend, so I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it. But I kind of went in with like a focus of I want to try to get to some sessions that would benefit my teachers so that I can bring that home to them. But also TCEA was awesome because there's so many coaches, like instructional coaches, and like this massive community that I wasn't like expecting to be able to connect with. So I definitely appreciated that component of it and just the variety of like sessions that they offered for coaches.
That was something, that's why we went back this year. Because when we were looking, I guess it was a couple of years ago now, but looking for some additional national conferences besides ISTE. And we just got so many recommendations for both FETC and TCEA.
Yeah.
So we checked both of them out for the first time last year. And then Tracy Keogh and Lisa Kuhn were our coaches that chose TCEA last year. And we just saw like how much there was for coaches, which is why we went back again. And then this year we had a good chunk of people on the team go. So for all of our listeners, if you're looking for a good conference that has a lot of good coaching sessions, TCEA is it.
Yeah.
It's in Austin next year, by the way, if you needed to know.
Even like just Texas in general, like they have so many coaches on their campuses. Like it just kind of blew my mind how much support they had built in. But the first session that really stood out to me was Essential Skills for Tomorrow's Leaders. And that was by Rochelle Poth. And I am very interested in the like psychology and sociology components of education because a lot of it boils down to behavior. So how are we able to manipulate people's environments so that they're like responsive and able to produce like behaviors we are looking for? And behavior, I'm sure, is not like a very new issue within education, but it's definitely like the biggest thing that teachers at my school are struggling with this year.
I don't think they're alone. I
No.
think we've got other coaches going, us too.
Because these COVID kids are built a little different. But the common theme in a lot of the like SEL sessions that I went to was how are we changing our teaching methods to meet our students at their needs and to accommodate those specific needs that they might have. And they were talking about how technology is able to provide all of these opportunities because you have all of these chances for differentiation and more engagement. Because if you're able to give students choice in their learning, they're focused on their work, they're more engaged, they're taking ownership of their learning, there's less opportunity for like some of these behaviors to be popping out. So she had a couple questions that were pretty thought-provoking that she did throughout the presentation. But her big one was how are we adapting and reworking the way that we're teaching so that we are meeting these students. And it was specifically how are we preparing them with the skill set that they need in order to be successful like in today's like societies and like once they graduate and they're like no longer students. And a lot of it was based on like soft skills. So how are we incorporating the 4 C's? And she had another interesting point, which I'm like paraphrasing here, but it was we usually teach the way that we were taught. So like thinking back to like when I was in elementary school and middle school, it was like lecture style. So a lot of teachers, that's what they know, that's what they're comfortable with, that's how they're going to do it. But like I remember my one teacher in middle school, we did a lot of station rotation, and all these years later, like I still remember that very vividly. So like when I started teaching, I was like, I need to make sure that I'm building in this station rotation so that they're moving, they're up, and like really engaging in their learning. And overall, like the pedagogy around education has really changed over the past few years. So the teacher prep program that I went to is a lot different than the teacher prep programs of like the teachers that have been in the game for a little while. So it was just like interesting, especially thinking from the perspective of coaching. When I'm leading these PDs, when I'm meeting with teachers, like, am I modeling the exact behaviors that I want like the teachers to implement with their students? So it was just like, there wasn't like a whole lot of engagement, like it was a little lecture style, but it was just like a lot of good like opportunities to think and reflect.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll jump into. I got to attend a couple sessions as well, and obviously most of the times the schools I've used is mostly Google, but there was a really good Microsoft session. So my school now is kind of a blend of Google and Microsoft, so I checked that out, and that was Scott Boyles and Bob Eikenberry from Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, and they, I mean, it was like 8:30 in the morning, and those guys must have been up forever because they were on it. They were cracking dad jokes. They're both dads, so but it was like a good session where they had really good tips and also were like kind of funny with it. But there's a couple of tools from Microsoft I learned, like Sway. It's kind of a cool presentation tool, which actually just got a question from one of my teachers about that. So I was like, oh, that's very timely. Yeah, so I know a little bit about Sway. That happens. Yeah, but just some things too with like Outlook and some of the other Microsoft applications that I really kind of got a little bit more in depth with, which was really cool. Like with Microsoft Outlook, you can actually click on someone's email and drag it over to the contacts, and it'll just create the contact for you. So that was kind of a cool little tidbit there. Another one that I went to was a Tech Coaches Roundtable. So this one was facilitated from 3 coaches from KDISD. That was Peyton Barty, Tori Claff, and then Kristen Nix Buckner. And they kind of facilitated more of a roundtable, so it was more of a group discussion, which they were, when they started, like everyone was instructional coaches in there. And they said, let's break it down by kind of your school size. So, they started saying like the way Texas schools are listed. I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. So I'm just going to kind of stay in here and hang out, which actually ended up in the large schools, but actually it was a really good conversation. There were several coaches from Texas. Then obviously I was from Ohio, and then another coach was from Tennessee. But one thing that she said, the coach from Tennessee, was talking about how they have in the summer like kind of a giant PD day, but they make it a little bit more fun where they'll bring in like food trucks. So it's like a food truck festival that they have as like their lunch. So that way it gets teachers a little bit more like excited to, go learn, then have some good food from some different food trucks. So trying to make it a little bit more engaging in that way with their PD day, because, as most of us here, like over the summer, if you've got to go to a PD day, you're like, oh boy, all right, let's see what, if we just got to get through this. But so she was talking about how they kind of make it fun in that aspect. But then also another really good one I went to was leveraging student voices. And this was Carson Jackson from Denton ISD. And I really like this one too. I only was able to catch part of it just with the way the schedule's lined up. But it was the idea of giving students more voice in their work, and then allowing that to expand into the community. So with the school that I'm at, that's a lot with facilitating with, the career campus side and things like that. So it was a really good session to kind of see some different ideas as to how students were able to really voice their own opinions and voice their own work, and how that transferred over into the workforce, where students were going to college or going into the workforce and just felt more confident in themselves because they've been able to kind of speak for themselves through school and then go into the workforce or college and already jump right into certain, fields and really feel at home.
Great. And Megan, did you have one more session to share?
I did.
Oh, I jumped right in. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I kind of needed a break. But this one was an EDU protocols. It was with Jeremiah Wall and Valerie Wall. So it was a husband-wife duo, which was pretty neat to see. But it was Toy Story themed. Just Disney themed, but the slides were all Toy Story, which was super cute. But it was basically stuff from like the first EDU protocols book. So we had talked about like FRAIR models, the Great American Race, Sketch and Tell, then Slide, Cyber Sandwich, and I think there's like one or two other ones that I can't remember. But it was nice because we actually got to participate and do it ourselves. Nice. So like these are ones that like I had seen before and like maybe like read in their books, but to actually see it implemented and in action just put like more ideas in my head of how I can like create new like PD on the potty stuff for it and share with my teachers. So it was nice to kind of like see that and borrow those ideas.
Yeah, nice. That's great. And we, I'll just take a moment. We're big fans of the EDU protocols. So they have a number of books. If you haven't seen them yet, they are really awesome resources. They have some specific content area focused and just super simple, easy, very low prep ways to embed technology in the classroom. I know there's a math specific one. And I actually just bought one, their latest EDU, now I'm going to butcher the title of it. It's meant for leaders and instructional coaches and like how to implement EDU protocols at the school level. So anyway, just a little plug for them because we are all big fans of their stuff.
All right, we'll go ahead and take a sponsor break, and when we come back, we'll figure out some cool new instructional strategies or anything cool in the expo hall.
Who is in your coach community? The EDU Coach Network is a professional learning community designed specifically to help instructional coaches connect, learn, and grow together. With free and paid options available, there's a space for all coaches in the EDU Coach Network. Join today and access coaching content that will help you impact teaching and learning in your school. Go to www.educoachnetwork.com to join.
The Google Educator Bootcamp is a 13-week comprehensive series that will prepare educators to complete the Google for Education Level 1 or 2 certification. This series provides teachers with professional development on their own time to complete tasks that are built around showcasing their proficiency and understanding of the Google Workspace for Education tools. For more information on the Google Educator Bootcamp, visit forward-edge.teachable.com and begin earning your Google certification.
Okay, welcome back. Thanks for listening to our sponsor break here today. We are with Tyler Irwin and Megan Rubel talking about the TCEA conference recap, the conference that we just attended last week at the time of this recording in San Antonio, Texas. So these guys just recapped some really great sessions that they got to attend. So hopefully you can take back some of those tips. And speaking of tips, sorry, loyal listeners, it's landing on me this time, but we're gonna get everyone's top 3 tips. I'm gonna put a spin on it though, either top 3 tips for like attending a conference or top 3 takeaways from this particular conference.
Wow, you just changed the game.
I know.
Right. Well, I'm never going to get
Little
to do another one ever again.
Little brain exploding emojis all around me.
Wide eyes of fear. No.
More like sweat.
Because this room is so hot.
Yeah, we got to get the temperatures figured out on that. This is hotter than it was in Texas for us, but okay.
Oh my God, that's so true.
All right. Speaking of which, that is my first tip. Bring a coat just in case. Okay.
I can't back that tip up enough.
It's literally was the first bullet point I put was bring a coat just in case. No, but I mean, in all honesty, like, here we are in Texas. The first day it was like 80. I'm out there, eating barbecue outside. It was awesome. And then the rest of the time I felt like I was in some winter tundra. There was no one on the Riverwalk. I could have been in any city in the entire U.S. in the middle of winter. I had no idea I was in San Antonio because it was so cold and sleeting and, raining and just, wind tunnels when you're in between buildings, but just, kind of being prepared. But the 2 that actually I would say for coaches attending conferences, don't be afraid of the unknown. This one in particular, I went in and I was like, I want to go to sessions where I may not know anything about the topic, Google admin, cybersecurity. I went to some brand new tools that I've never tried before. I went to some sessions on Lego and the stuff that they're doing in education. I've never really used any of that before. Just find out what they have to offer. Find out how other teachers are using these resources and how it's affecting their school districts. And then even too, like going to the one where they had 70,000 devices, the district I serve, maybe we have 2,000, right? So it's not an apples to apples thing, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn from their experience. So that would be a great tip. And then the other one, kind of similar, is just take advantage of the variety. And I felt like at this conference, there was just a lot of different types of sessions, experiences. There's a lot of lecture. There is. But that typically means that there's also opportunities for hands-on, for roundtables, for panels, for poster sessions, which a lot of coaches really love because it's a little bit more of like an intimate setting. And then even, taking advantage of the keynotes, the expo hall, the things that maybe attract a lot of attention. If you use your time wisely in those places, you can learn a lot about what is out there and then bring some of those things back to your district. So just kind of taking advantage of the variety that all of these conferences support, I think will leave you with like a more well-rounded experience than just kind of sticking with the ones where you go in, you get the slides, you maybe listen for 45 minutes and then you leave. You can learn a lot in those sessions, but maybe it won't be as enjoyable if you mix it up a little bit.
All right, perfect. That reminded me of poster session. I do want to shout out real quick. Megan, you and I went to it. Their own TikTok stuff, so maybe I'm gonna start getting some ideas for TikTok.
Oh,
maybe.
no.
So
Megan just had little heart eye emojis.
Yeah, we need to make it more on the TikTok because she knows what's going on with that. But
I don't know if you do though, because mine's very like Gen Z oriented right now, and it's confusing.
It's confusing embarrassing to you, or you're saying it would be to us?
Maybe to you guys.
Maybe we should just let her take it over.
It's very hurtful.
I know. I've had enough of those things I won't know what's being said.
Yeah, I've been coming for Katie lately.
Yeah, you really have.
Oh man. Okay. Well, just tell us your top 3 tips or takeaways, and
And leave my age out of it.
My first one was also similar to Tyler's, is prepare for the weather. I was prepared for it because the first time I went to Texas, like 3 years ago, it pulled the same weather switcheroo. I landed and it was beautiful and
Maybe it's
sunny,
you.
and then the next day it was like 30 degrees and snowing. So I was prepared.
Yeah.
My second...
I spent 2.5 weeks freezing my butt off, so.
because New Orleans wasn't very hot either,
No,
was it?
that was also abnormally cold as well.
It's a good shopping spree excuse.
Yeah, well, check.
My second one would probably be basically be prepared to be exhausted.
Yeah.
I did not prepare myself at all for how tired I would be, because you are doing a lot of walking, but just having conversations and sitting in all of these different sessions, it really does drain you because you're just thinking constantly. And then my other one would be, don't be afraid to talk to people.
Yep.
So every time I would sit down in a session or something, I would just ask how their day was going, ask where they were from, and it was just nice to make those connections. And just that's where a lot of the ideas that I walked away with came from, those really informal moments. So yeah, don't be
Nice.
afraid to talk.
Well, I will say too, everyone in Texas was super friendly. I feel like that was the Southern hospitality that you hear about. I mean, we went to CVS and we ended up having a 20-minute conversation with
You had a 20-minute
Well,
conversation.
maybe it's just me. See, and this is okay. Everyone's laughing because this goes to a thing that happened over San Antonio. But I wasn't even gonna.
Season I snort
I'd
in the mic at least.
But yeah, make those connections. I'll kind of toss in here a little bit, but make those connections. There's plenty of people that I've kind of connected through on Twitter that finally got to meet them in person. I feel like these conferences too always hit us with some wild weather, because last year when we went to FETC in Orlando, that was the one cold dip that Florida had. So I don't know if it's just
It's a me thing.
Yeah, it's I guess
Anywhere I travel, there's
yeah,
a cold
we
front.
just bring it, because even too the last time I was in Texas, I was in Dallas and it was really, really cold. I ended up wearing my winter coat the whole time there too. So I don't know what's going on with. Maybe it's just us Northerners going south and the weather comes with us. But also I would say, check out the city too if you get a little bit of a chance. I mean, we went to I went to SeaWorld, went to the Alamo, checked out some really cool places while we were in San Antonio. The Riverwalk was really, really cool. There was not a soul out there on the Riverwalk, as Tyler said, but just those things that, if you're new city, kind of check it out when you get the chance. But obviously, with a conference, you're there full day. It gets kind of crazy, but it's a lot of fun at the end of it, and you definitely get a lot of cool tidbits and new knowledge that you can take away and bring back to your school.
Awesome. Guys, anything else that you wanted to share about the conference before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just a couple of last things for me. So I was really, really impressed with a lot of the things that some of these tech companies are doing and offering to schools now for free. So Canva is notorious for the free access they give to K-12 schools.
Yeah.
I went to a session on Adobe Express for Education, K-12, formerly known as Adobe Spark. And so they're offering that to schools completely free.
Oh, wow.
So, students get access to a version of Premiere and Photoshop and their website creator and their social media graphic poster creation tool. And it does some things that even Canva doesn't, right? I love Canva. But Adobe tools are obviously the professional grade tool that these kids someday might use in their own career. And so to get a version of that, completely free for your entire district, there's just a lot of companies offering more and more things like that. Recently Parlay, which is a discussion platform, announced that it's completely free. And we know Microsoft is doing things with Flip, and just that would be my thing is, yes, no matter what district you come from, we are all going to be kind of hamstrung by the funding that we have, especially if we're trying to support new strategies and new instructional tools and digital platforms. But I have found, if you do your due diligence and especially use your time at conferences to see what other schools have brought in.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed at what you can bring to your district, usually for free. And so I'm already in the works of getting Adobe Express to the district I serve. And so I think it'll just be another great tool that they have in their tool belt where they can help students develop like these professional career ready skills, and they don't have to worry about the bottom line. So kind of a win-win there, and just something that I always appreciate about the conferences. Like, yeah, a lot of these companies are there to make money, but they also do a lot of good to the districts that they serve too. So definitely something that I notice when I'm at these conferences and really enjoy. So
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, so I promise I'll make this quick. But you saying that, Tyler, just made me think of something. My role has kind of transitioned from attending as many sessions to now supporting our programs when we are in the vendor hall floor with Edu Badges, and now our coaching programs with the Coach Network, EDU Coach Network, and different things. So that's where I end up spending most of my time unless I'm presenting. So I'm super jealous about hearing all the cool stuff you guys are hearing. But anyway, just in having a lot of conversations with some of those different vendors and different things, I would just encourage coaches listening to this, especially our tech coaches or especially our coaches where particular programs fall kind of within your purview, really reach out and understand the full functionality of these tools, because lots of vendors are struggling with like very little being tapped into by teachers and by users. So the suite of tools might be able to do 5,000 things, but people are only using like the first 50 of those features. So anyway, just as you think of what's free and what's out there and freeing up funds and other tools, like really understand what these things can do, because you might be able to free up other funds if you're paying for overlapping services.
Yeah.
And as coaches, just kind of same with the cybersecurity, like Tyler kind of started off at the top of the episode, just make sure you're continuing to pepper some of those things through so that your users really can take advantage of these tools.
Yeah. And also one thing I did like about TCEA too is they had some dedicated hours towards the expo hall, because that's like a whole nother beast at these conferences. You go to all these sessions and things, when you go to the expo hall and you're like, oh man, I don't know if I have enough time to figure out and learn so much. But like they gave dedicated hours so that there wasn't any sessions that you felt like you're missing while you're there, which is kind of nice too. But one final thing I'll point out, I did get the chance to present as well at TCEA, which was a lot of fun. We had over 100 people in our first session, which kind of blew my mind in terms of how many people were there. But that's something I would say too. I would encourage you to also, try and present as well if you got really cool ideas, because you can be part of that collection of folks that are presenting at the conference as well. You can go get some really cool sessions and ideas, but also share your own knowledge as well. Yeah,
and a lot of the vendors too, like all of these tools that you're using, that might be another avenue to try to present. So definitely, absolutely apply to the conference itself, and whether or not you do get accepted to present within like the conference program, reach out to some of those tools that you champion.
Yeah.
They're always looking. We at TCEA, we were right behind Edpuzzle, and they had teachers and coaches presenting like almost the whole time at their booth.
Yeah.
Like little short and sweet 15, 20-minute things. So reach out to some of your favorite vendors and see what they're doing. And if a conference is coming up, they might even like pay for part of your, experience if you're going to be presenting a little bit on their behalf. So it might be another way to help fund your experience to a conference, and just get the great stuff that you're doing out there as well.
All right. Well, this has been a really good recap on everything with TCEA. So hopefully it got you jazzed up to go and check out a conference. But we have been able to talk with Megan and Tyler. Thank you both for coming on and sharing your experiences down in San Antonio.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so next time we are going to start looking at finding the balance. So we'll have a little bit of a two-part series here. So we're going to talk with a couple coaches that are in single buildings on how they work with their teachers in a way that is both productive but also not overbearing. So it's going to be in that two-part series. So we'll also look down the road with a coach that actually manages a very large district. So we'll get a little bit of perspective at a single building compared to a large multiple buildings and how you can sort all that out.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. And just a little plug, if you, again, from our sponsor breaks, if you are jazzed up about this conference feeling, you want to keep it going, check out the EDU Coach Network. We have free and paid options at educoachnetwork.com. And so with that, be sure to subscribe to Restart Recharge wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love a rating and review. I know in Apple Podcasts, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the Restart Recharge, that's where you can then leave a rating and review for us. Don't know about other platforms because that's what I listen to, so I'll look it up for next time. But you can also follow and connect with us on social media at RRCoachCast.
And also feel free to reach out to us and let us know what topics you want us to discuss. So if there's something that is on your mind, feel free to reach out, talk to us, and maybe we'll be featured on an upcoming episode.
Yeah, so press the restart button.
Recharge your coaching batteries and leave feeling equipped and inspired to coach fearlessly with the Restart Recharge podcast.
A Tech Coach Collective. Did it. Currently he serves and is a Google certified trainer and mentor coach and Google certified coach. Okay, I'm starting over with Tyler.
That's what I was saying.
So many wires.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about me having a tablet. It would be like way easier to be like,
Yeah.
all right, we're good though.
We're all set.
Is that a ploy for another device?
No, I haven't.
Sounds like it.
Definitely not. Trust me. Got my fair share of devices. Too many, in fact. Actually, can I set this up as like a tent?
Oh, look at that.
Advanced use Chromebook.
Wow.
Bam.
If I try to do that, I'll break it.
Who says you don't need an advanced use Chromebook?
Then you would get a new device.
Oh, but now I don't know how to use it.
Isn't it touchscreen?
There we go. Well, like it changes up Chrome, so your tabs aren't across the top anymore. There's like a special little extra button you have to hit to view all your tabs. All right, now I know I'm good.
Okay, well, teach me later. Okay.
I only have 2 for the first question. If you have more, do you want to go first? Okay.
Just flat out drink my water. Well, all right, we're rolling with no water today, folks, so let's get to it.
I took a sip of this one too.
Yeah, you drink both waters. So.
Tyler's commandeering all the water in the studio.
Sorry.
Tyler, this is my coffee cup.
Okay.
Just
One
to
was
be clear.
unopened. I don't know.
And one's frosty, right?
Understood, but still.
It is. If I just start coughing a hack and run out of breath, there's a reason for it. So,
All
okay.
right, here we go.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to.
Hey, quiet down out there, please.
Be quiet.
Our silent pod room is not silent.